Hello everyone and welcome back. I thought I'd make a video on how to, rebuild or fix a derailleur that's made by Lark-SS. But if you look on the back, I don't know if you'd see it, it's also made by Shimano. So I guess you could say it's Shimano Lark-SS. Before I had already cleaned it up and rebuilt it, but when I took off the bike, it was basically stuck in this position. I guess things had rusted up and seized up a bit. So what you can basically do is just take a flathead screwdriver and pop off the plastic cap here. Don't flying. I'll get it in a few moments. Pop this off. Just gonna go get the other cap that went flying. And then what you have is two clips. One clip here and one clip here. You basically just take a screwdriver and pop it off. And this here comes off, and there's going to be a spring. When you take the spring off, you'll just want to take a look at it because it's got two different ends. This end here that's sticking out, it's going to go back in here. It goes in like that. And the end that it's sticking out like that, when you reinstall it on here, there's going to be a small hole that it fits in like that. So I'm just going to keep that like that. And I'll pop off the spring, not spring, this clip. Just going to put that there. It's going to unwind a bit. You just twist it back and forth a bit. And then this comes out. With this spring you'll have like a small finger that's sticking out like that, which it's gonna go in the hole here. Like that. And this end here, where is it? This here will go in like that. Goes like that. So yeah, I'll just keep that aside like that. For these two screws here, I'm using 5/16. 5/16. I guess you use 5/16 wrench also. Just some screws. Same thing for the other wheel. I had already rebuilt this one and re-oiled it and cleaned all the dirt off, so I didn't find any videos on YouTube about cleaning up these derailleurs, so I thought I'd do a video. These two wheels were basically about the same size. Well, they are the same size. I think on some other derailleurs, they could be different sizes. So you'll want to make sure or remember when this piece comes off which way it was. Like it came off like that. Because when you reinstall it, it'll, I guess this here is going to want to match up with this here. So these two metal caps can come off, and there's a small metal thing that comes out the center from the hole. Same thing for the other side. Two metal caps, and a small metal piece here. So when I had taken it apart, sorry about that. When I had taken it apart, both the springs were all rusty, and even with the springs on here that were still on, that they were all rusty, including the two screws here, the two adjustment screws were rusty. So what I ended up doing is I took a plastic container and I filled it up with rust cleaner. What I used in this case was a vapor rust. I can't speak. I've used this quite a few times for different bike parts, and usually within a few hours it cleans up all the rust. So now what I did to put it back together is I used bike chain oil, or a bike chain lubricant. And what I did is I would put a small drop of oil on the center here. I would put this metal piece back in. I guess you'd spin around a bit. Put a tiny bit of oil, just like a small drop there. Put the cap back, flip around, a small drop of oil, put the cap, do the same thing with the other wheel, put a small drop of oil in the center, put the metal piece back in, then you could put a small drop of oil where the metal cap goes back in. Flip it around. Put a small drop of oil where the metal cap goes. Put it on. Then you just spin around a bit just for the oil to go where it has to go. Yeah, so then what I do is I'll try to put the wheels back on. I'll put the screw in one hole. Then I'll put the wheel through. And then I'll just, by hand, screw it together. Doesn't have to be too tight. I'll take the other wheel. I'll take the other screw. I'll put it through the hole. I'll put the wheel on. Put it back together. Then I'll just, by hand, do it hand tight. And then just take the 5/16 again and just tighten it up. Oh, how did it go again? Don't worry, there's method to my madness. always good to remember how you, yeah, okay, so it goes this way. So I'll just put a drop of oil here. I'll put a tiny bit of oil on the spring. Like I mentioned before, this part here goes in. And this pointy finger part, I don't know if you can see it, will eventually go inside the hole here. But when you're putting it back together, you have the small metal stop pin here. I'll get the phone after. Oh, I guess I've got the phone. So this small pin here goes inside the hole. The stop pin, or the stopper pin, you'll have to, when you're putting this on, stopper pin, part of the frame here is gonna stop the pin from spinning around because of the tension with the spring here. So you'll wanna get it close to the hole. Or inside the hole. And then just kind of pull it back a bit before you push it in the rest of the way. Shoot. Is that right? No, it's the wrong way around, sorry. You want to spin around this way. Bring it down a bit, spin around, and then push it. So, I don't know if you could see, if you're trying to find a good angle. The pin that's going to be resting against the, right over here, which is, this is where the, when you attach the cable to adjust the gears, this is basically what holds down the cable for the adjusting of the gears. So the pin is basically resting right beside it. Sorry if it's a bad angle, but then you take the clamp again. There's going to be like a small slot. I don't know if you can see a small slot in the piece that's sticking out. Just slip it in. Even if you need the screwdriver, it just snaps in. Now with the other side, you could take a bit of oil, just put it on the spring. This part here, it's sticking out, goes inside, and you have another finger that's sticking out, which is going to go inside that small hole over here. Goes in like that, and twist around a bit. Until it gets in the hole. And then it's going to eventually snap in. You take your other clamp, you put it in the slot just on the side. You take your screwdriver if needed, just push it in. front and back side sometimes. Sometimes it goes easy, sometimes not so much. Just flip it around. I'll just try these, see if they help. Okay, there we go. That was a bit easier. And basically just with the hinges, I'll just take some oil and just do like a small drop of oil at each hinge. And there's, even with the spring that you see here, I'll put a few drops of oil on it too. And I'll put some drops of oil, or a drop of oil on the moving parts here also. And then what you do is you take your caps, you slip them back on, and that's basically it. And then you just attach it back on your bike. There's usually one screw that goes through the hole here that holds this onto your bike. So whenever you take off your back wheel, so the derailleur doesn't constantly fall off the bike. So at least that's going to still be held on onto the bike with the screw here. So thanks everyone for watching. I hope this was interesting, and talk to everyone soon. Bye.